Friday, May 26, 2017, here on the Patriots Beat podcast. We have a very full show for you guys this week. Rob Gronkowski restructured his contract. We've got all the details right here. The NFL made several on-field rule changes. Raymond Clayborn was named to the Patriots Hall of Fame, and a bunch more stuff. We'll get to all that and more here on the Patriots Beat podcast, powered by CLNS Media.
This is Larry H. Russell speaking on behalf of the network, thanking you once again for downloading the Patriots Beat podcast here on CLNS Radio, the leading online provider of audio-video coverage for New England professional sports. Download the free CLNS Radio mobile app for your iPhone or Android for immediate and convenient access to all the content available on the CLNS Radio YouTube channel, podcasting network, and clnsradio.com. Now, on to another edition of Patriots Beat. Take it away, Harris.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Patriots Beat podcast. My name is Michael Longi, filling in for Harris while he's on vacation. Great show for you guys today. We've got a ton of stuff to talk about. Rob Gronkowski restructured his deal earlier in the week. We've got all the details right here. The NFL owners' meetings were earlier in the week as well. There were some rule changes, on-field rule changes that will actually affect play on the field. We'll talk about those as well. Raymond Clayborn named to the Patriots Hall of Fame. Got in on the fan vote. Fourth consecutive year on the ballot. He finally got in, so we'll talk about that. And guys, the Patriots hit the field earlier this week. They're hit in OTAs, voluntary OTAs, but most of the people are there. Everyone's there. Everyone's working, so we've got a few details out of OTAs. Media had their first access yesterday on Thursday, so we'll talk about all that stuff and more here. But let's dive right in, guys. Rob Gronkowski. So he didn't sign a new deal. He restructured his contract. The Patriots kind of they did it a little differently. As always, the Patriots are looking for, kind of the best deal for the team. And they did it in a really interesting way with Rob Gronkowski. Clever, a little unorthodox. I really like it. This could be if a perfect deal exists, this could be it. Potentially. So just follow with me here. So let's get into the details right away. Rob Gronkowski this year, before signing this restructure, was scheduled to make $5.25 million. So that's pretty much on the low end. That's probably it's in the top 10 for tight ends, but I believe it's in the bottom 10. I think it's maybe 6 or 7 or 8. I'm sorry, 8, 9, or 10 in terms of highest cash value per year on a contract. But with this deal, Rob Gronkowski has a chance to make as much as $10.75 million based on incentives, which would be the most of any tight end in the league. So obviously this all depends on how you look at the contracts. If you're talking about total value of a contract, Rob Gronkowski's contract is already the biggest if we're talking total money. If he was able to collect every single bit of money from this contract, $54 million, he far exceeds the contracts of guys like Kansas City Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce, who's making $46.8. He's in second place. Washington Redskins tight end Jordan Reed, $46.7. Philadelphia Eagles Zach Ertz, $42.5. And Seattle Seahawks tight end Jimmy Graham is making a clean, even $40 million. So if we're talking total value of a deal, Rob Gronkowski is already blowing every tight end in the league away. But generally, especially in football, that's not how you look at deals because so many things can happen. Players can get cut so easily. Contracts aren't guaranteed, so you never really look at the full value of the contract. You look at per year basis and a cash value. So for the 2017 cash value, Rob Gronkowski this year is about $9 million, was fourth on the list behind Jimmy Graham, who's at $10 million, Travis Kelce at 9.4, and Jordan Reed at 9.35. So Gronk's in fourth place there. Now with this deal, Rob Gronkowski is scheduled to make as much as $10.75 million based on incentives. They're divided up into 3 tiers, and this is why I like it. This is why I like the deal. Because not only is, let's say, for example, Rob Gronkowski were to get hurt in the first couple games of the year and miss the entire season, he would only make $5.25 million. because that's his base salary. That's what he's scheduled to make. That is still what he's scheduled to make. Now, if we look at the tiers, we'll go by it's 3 tiers. So for the third tier, to hit that first threshold, Rob Gronkowski will make $6.75 million if he plays 70% of the snaps, or has 60 receptions, or has 800 receiving yards, or has 10 touchdowns on the year. So at that point, Rob Gronkowski's contract goes up $1.5 million to $6.75. If he hits the second tier, he'll get $8.75 million, so another $2 million added on top if he plays 80% of the snaps, 70 catches, 1,000 receiving yards, or 12 touchdowns. Now let me stop right there and say that's where I think this is probably going to end up. I think this, if we're talking best case scenario, honestly, you've got Gronk playing 80% of the snaps, 70 catches, 1,000 receiving yards, whatever. For the first tier, for Gronk to get that $10.75 million, this is the thing. Rob Gronkowski has done all of these things at least once in his career. In order to get the $10.75 million, Gronk will have to play 90% of the snaps, which he hasn't done since his second year in the league. So that's very unlikely. But 80 catches in his sleep. 1,200 receiving yards or an All-Pro selection. He's been an All-Pro 4 times. He's had 1,200 receiving yards twice and 80 catches 3 times. So he's done all of those things. Like I said, he hasn't played 90% of the snaps since his second year in the league. I think it's pretty doubtful that he'll play 90% of the snaps, even if he's fully healthy this year, because I just don't see. I just don't see that happening. So you have Dwayne Allen in there. I just don't see him playing 90% of the snaps. So for me personally, I think Rob Gronkowski, because you have to, at this point in his career, this will now be his 8th season, you have to consider that Rob Gronkowski is going to get hurt at some point in the year. He's going to get hurt. Now, he might miss a game, he might miss 5 games, he might miss 10 games, who knows? But he'll miss games. I'm pretty much resigned to that fact already. It's May 26th, and I'm resigned to the fact that Rob Gronkowski will likely miss games in the 2017 NFL season because of just the way he plays, and he's had 4 back surgeries, and everyone knows the deal. He's a quote-unquote injury prone, right? He's just a huge guy who gets slammed into constantly. He's going to get hurt. So I'm thinking the second tier, $8.75 million. That's 70 catches, 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns. That's probably about what I bet you he gets 75 catches and about 1,000 yards this year. 12 to 15 touchdowns. That's pretty much. Would you consider that? That's probably like an average. If Gronk is playing, obviously 80% of the snaps, like he would need to. You would think that that's probably a pretty average Gronkowski year, right? I mean, 70 catches, 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns. I mean, he's dropped he's dropped 15 touchdowns in a season before. I believe he got 17 touchdowns in a season once. So I think he has the opportunity to be in that first tier, make that $10.75 million, which is why I think he likes the restructure, because he's going to say, I'm going to stay healthy, I'm going to get out there, I'm going to be an all-pro, and I'm going to get $10.75 million this year. And, hey, that's all the best for him. I hope you do too, because, as Patriots fans, we all want you to be an all-pro and be the best tight end in football and, have 80 catches, 1,200 yards, whatever. But this is 100% an availability-based deal, and I love it. Love it. Can't be any better. I have no problem giving Rob Gronkowski $10.75 million if he's an all-pro this year. If he's an all-pro and he's playing, 85% of the snaps and he's making 90 catches this year and he's got 1,200 receiving yards, whatever, I have no problem giving him $10.75 million. I just don't think he's going to get to that because, number one, like I said, I think he's going to get hurt at some point this year because you pretty much have to bank that he's going to miss a couple games. Number two, we'll talk about this a little later because the Patriots just signed another wide receiver who, has made an impact in the NFL before. And they now have 6 guys who can catch the football that aren't named Rob Gronkowski. So just think about that. 6 guys who are not named Rob Gronkowski are available to catch the football. And that's not even counting running backs. So it's really like 9 guys. But let's say 6 receivers, not named Gronkowski, that can catch the football. He's not going to get that. I mean, as good as Gronkowski is, and obviously he's going to, if he gets wide open, I mean, you throw him the football. But just the sheer amount of people out there that are available to catch the ball and that are consistent enough to be able to, gain Tom Brady's trust. I mean, Tom Brady already has the trust of a lot of these guys. But then we're also talking about the addition of Brandon Cooks this year. We're talking about the addition of Dwayne Allen this year. We're talking about the second year of Malcolm Mitchell. Julian Edelman, obviously, Danny Amendola, so Chris Hogan. I mean, guys, there's just so many receivers that how is Gronkowski going to get them? And for that matter, I mean, he might not even get 70 catches because of the amount of, there's only so many receptions to go around, right? But like I said, I do think he'll hit 70 catches, at least. I think he'll have 70 catches. He'll probably have 12 touchdowns, even if he doesn't hit 70 catches. And I think he has a real shot at 1,000 receiving yards anytime because, he is just that good. And we've seen him make 40, 50-yard catches in games before plenty of times. So, and he's hit 1,000 receiving yards, I believe, in his 7-year career. I believe he's at 1,000 yards 4 or 5 times. So that's a pretty safe bet when you're talking Rob Gronkowski, healthy enough to play at least, 70% of the games, 14 games, 12, 14 games. He's probably going to get 1,000 yards. So anyway, I love the deal. I just think it's such a good move by the Patriots, not only because they are still able, they keep Rob Gronkowski happy. They also don't touch the last 2 years of the deal. That's a part I didn't mention. And it's a part that hasn't really been mentioned a lot since we've been talking about it, but the last 2 years of the deal are not touched. Those are still the backloaded. It's still a backloaded deal, and they can still get out from under that fairly easily. Not crazy easily, but they can still get out of that fairly easily, and there's still room to restructure within those last 2 years. This is a restructure for the first 2 years of the 4 years remaining on the deal. So Gronkowski loves it, because he got a chance to be the highest paid tight end in football if he becomes an all-pro, which he is an all-pro. I mean, he is a perennial all-pro caliber player. So he thinks, I'm going to make this money. The Patriots think, hey, it's only $10.75 million, and he's worth it if he's hitting these marks. And if he's injured, we only have to pay him half, 5.25, whatever, if he misses the whole year or whatever. This is a win-win for both sides. This is really a win-win. And that's why I said, I think if there is a perfect deal in the NFL, this might be it. Really loving the Rob Gronkowski contract. And, it takes a little bit of a cap hit off of them too, because, it's incentive-based, so it's not, cap affected. There's all sorts of weird kind of loopholes and stuff like that. Just Belichick being a wizard once again with the salary cap and making things happen. It's just really, really great move all around. I couldn't say enough about it. I think it's 100%. I think it's an A+ on the Rob Gronkowski restructure. Now, moving on, another Patriots player got some new money. David Andrews, starting center for the Patriots, got a contract extension, signed a 4-year extension worth just over $9.6 million. And he has an opportunity, if he plays, based on incentives, to earn as much as $11.7 million. So, really good deal for undrafted free agent David Andrews, who originally signed a $15,000 signing bonus after not getting drafted, not getting guaranteed a roster spot, and then winning it and becoming the starting center on a Super Bowl winning team. Not bad. Not bad for David Andrews. So the deal is 4-year extension, like I said, $9.6 million. He gets that $1.6 million signing bonus. So his base salary for this year was already going to be $615,000. It is still going to be $615,000. And now he just gets that $1.6 million signing bonus, that quick money, that right-away money, which is just, it's great for him. It's great for, the Patriots. It's interesting if you look a little closer at the deal, though, because obviously it is, on its face, a very good deal. We're liking the fact that he's still only going to make $615,000 this year. Really, he's going to make $915,000 because he gets $300,000 in roster bonuses per game. So it's on a per-game basis. As long as he plays the whole season and is on the 46-man, game day roster for the entire season, he'll get $915,000. So pretty good for him. If you add on the $1.6 million signing bonus, David Andrews is having a solid 2017, right? Then you move on to 2018, and his base salary kicks up to $900,000 with $400,000 in roster bonuses, right? And then there's also, based on playing time, there's another $700,000 that he can make. Okay, not entirely likely to make that full $700,000, but even let's say he makes $200,000 of that, that's roughly $1.5 million that he makes in 2018. Again, solid year for David Andrews, and the Patriots, are only paying $1.5 million for a center. Now, if you look at 2019 and 2020, this is when it gets a little interesting. 2019, his base salary is $2 million. 2020, it's $3 million. And then there's still that $400,000 in roster bonuses, $700,000 in incentives. So we're talking he could be making $3, $4, $5 million in that period. That's just not going to happen. I don't think the Patriots will stick that long. So it's going to be interesting to see whether they either restructure that in 2019 or they move on from David Andrews. But I think it's pretty much guaranteed that David Andrews is now locked in through at least 2018. Through at least 2018, David Andrews locked in. And I like it. I think it's a good move. I think, David Andrews, obviously, there was issues with Brian Stork. He had the concussion problems. It was really tough on him. David Andrews comes in, wins the job, plays really well, and now has taken over. So, you never know what's going to happen, but it's a good spot to be in to have your center locked in. You've already locked in, obviously, Marcus Cannon for a 5-year deal. Nate Solder coming up in the end of his deal. But you've drafted some guys, and you've got a couple, there's some things going on. So the offensive line is kind of in flux right now. There's a lot of young guys, too. Shaq Mason, all these guys. So I'm blanking on the other guy's name right now, honestly. But good move to get David Andrews signed for at least he's locked in for the next 2 years, and then we'll see what happens in 2019. But solid move by them. Let's take a quick break. We're already been going for a while, so let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk about the all the rule changes that passed at the NFL owners meetings over the past earlier this week, and we'll also talk about Andrew Hawkins joining this already loaded wide receiver core, and then we'll close up the show with some Raymond Clayborn talk, Patriots Hall of Fame. So we'll be right back.
Not all ingredients are created equal. Fresh, high-quality ingredients make a real difference, so it's important to know where your food comes from. I know that me personally, when I was living in a college dorm, I used Blue Apron in order to get my fresh ingredients so that me and my roommate Jack could cook up some nice meals, maybe some fresh steaks, maybe some good chili, some quality stuff. And it's also a very fun holiday gift, so maybe for a nice Valentine's Day gift or a nice birthday gift coming up, I wouldn't give it to a girlfriend. Obviously, Blue Apron would be a little rough, but give it to a family member. Maybe they can get some high-quality ingredients in their life. For less than $10 per meal, Blue Apron delivers seasonal recipes along with pre-portioned ingredients to make delicious home-cooked meals. Blue Apron knows that when you cook with incredible ingredients, you make incredible meals, so they set the highest quality standards for their community of artisanal suppliers, family-run farms, fisheries, and ranchers. Whether it's Japanese ramen noodles, wild-caught Alaskan salmon, or heirloom tomatoes, Blue Apron is bringing you the best. So check out this week's menu. Get your first 3 meals free with free shipping. Go to blueapron.com/Patriots. You will love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron, so don't wait. That's blueapron.com/Patriots. Blue Apron, a better way to cook.
All right, we are back here on the Patriots Beat podcast. I'm Michael Longi, filling in for Harris while he's on vacation. You will see him again in another week. He'll be back next Friday. For now, we're talking NFL rule changes. The NFL owners' meetings were over Monday and Tuesday. Several rule changes were passed. One waiver was awarded, and there was a rule change that was tabled for further discussions to be voted on later. So let's run through the ones that were passed. There's a few that were on the field that will directly affect the play on the field. So let's get to those right now. First of all, the one that everyone loves, restrictions on player celebrations will be loosened. Finally, okay? So there will still be restrictions in place, celebrations that are sexually suggestive, mimic weapons, or are quote-unquote prolonged will still be flagged. So Antonio Brown will still get flagged for twerking, stuff like that. Josh Norman can't do the bow and arrow thing or whatever he does. You can't, machine gun the whole offensive line, any of those things. You can't do any of that stuff. But players will be able to use the ball as a prop. You'll be able to go to the ground, do stuff like snow angels and all stuff like that. And you'll even be able to celebrate as a group. So you'll be able to do maybe some other group celebration that's not the machine guns or my personal favorite, the grenade. The ball is a grenade and you throw it into the pile of offensive linemen, blows up, everyone falls down. Love that one. Can't do that, mimics a weapon, but you can still celebrate as a group. So that's great. Love the restriction, the ease of the restrictions on player celebrations. I mean, come on. It's 2017. These guys, it's really hard to score a touchdown in the NFL. I'm not sure if any of you know that, but it's really hard to score a touchdown in the NFL. So if they want to celebrate after they do it, if they want to celebrate after they make a big play, let them. It's football. Come on. It's not, it's let them celebrate. I like it. Okay. Next up, I don't like the next one. Shortened overtime from 15 minutes down to 10 minutes. Now, it's billed as a player safety issue, which obviously, you can't really argue with the fact that they want to protect players, right? But for me, this is not necessarily going to have much impact on player safety. I'm not sure where that comes into play because, first of all, you're still playing a 10-minute overtime period, which is 10 minutes longer, a 10-minute longer game than normal. And let's be honest, if these guys are playing 3, 4, 5 more plays longer than they should be, then that's already an issue. It only takes one play to destroy themselves. And, so the extra play is the extra play. Here's a stat for you. Over the past 5 seasons, only 26.5% of all overtime games were actually longer than 10 minutes. So people who are saying, well, there's going to be more ties, well, no, not necessarily. Not only have only 26.5% of all overtime games gone longer than 10 minutes, but coaches coach to the clock. They will coach situationally so that they will have the least likely chance of having a tie. They will try to score a touchdown with, a minute left, whatever. But it's also not going to likely increase player safety. The guys are still going to get hurt out there. So I'm not really sure what the idea behind this was. It's, pretty much just a superficial, it's player safety, but I'm not really sure the numbers bear out that they're actually going to be protecting more players, if that makes any sense. Next one. Now, back to a good rule. Like it. Okay. Teams can now bring back 2 players from injured reserve during the season. So as some of you may know, some of you may not, there's a certain designation that you can give a player when he gets hurt early in the season. You can give him put him on IR with a designation to return, which means that he has to miss the first 8 weeks of the season, and then he's allowed to come back. So the Patriots did this with Dion Lewis last year. He got injured. He re-injured his knee in training camp. He had a setback. They put him on IR designated to return. They took him off IR in week 7. He practiced for 2 or 3 weeks and then came back in week 9 or 10. I can't entirely remember, but they brought him back in week 9 or 10, and he played for the rest of the season through the playoffs. So previously, before this rule was passed, or this rule specifically, you could only do that with one player. So you had to choose who that would be. So let's say you had two players who were injured, but would probably be able to come back for the second half of the season. You would have to choose between them, which, is obviously a real issue for teams, because how are you going to choose, let's say they're two impact players, how are you going to pick which one is, more impactful, whatever. So now you can bring back two. So teams that have two guys that could be coming back, they can now bring them both back without issue. Now let's say now there'll be a team that has three guys that they could bring back, but they can't. I personally think that it would be better if there just wasn't, if IR wasn't really a thing, right? I mean, you put a guy on IR, okay, but that if he's really out for the season, you put him on IR. But this IR with a designation to return, and then you have to do roster manipulation and things like that. You have to sign a guy for the 9 weeks, and then you cut him and you bring back your guy. There's all these different things. I think they should just be able to be injured for 10 weeks and then come back, right? Not necessarily be put on IR, but then there's the whole issue of the roster spot and everything like that. So there's a lot of issues there. Bottom line is, this is a good move. It's a step in the right direction again. Teams can now bring back two players from injured reserve during the season. The next one, I'm not really entirely sure about. I don't know why this was a thing, but teams will now have just one roster cut down day during the preseason. So, as most of you know who follow football throughout the preseason, things like that, teams start with 90 players on the roster. They're currently at OTA. There are 90 players on the Patriots roster right now. Training camp will happen in July. Training camp will go through, and then there's a period after, I believe, the second preseason game where they cut down to 75 players. And then right after the last preseason game, a couple days after the final preseason game, you cut down to your final 53. Well, now you're cutting directly from 90 to 53, one cut down day. You're just cutting directly, and it's like 3 days after the final preseason game, you cut your roster from 90 to 53 guys. I don't really get this one. I guess it's, to give players more of a chance to make an impression and stick with the team. Then again, those guys that are going to get cut en masse, and that day after the preseason ends or whatever, all of those guys are going to be looking for jobs. Like, this is just kind of a weird rule change to me. I'm not really sure why they did that. I kind of like the idea of cutting from 90 to 75. So you get rid of 15 guys, and you got to get rid of 22 more. So you get rid of, you can do it in stages. You can get rid of 15 guys. The 15 guys that aren't going to cut it, boom, they're gone. Then you got 22 guys that you got to work with. You got to figure out how they're going to do, and they get the final two preseason games, and then boom, you cut down to 53. I kind of like that approach. Now you're just kind of hacking off half the team. 90 guys, you're cutting down almost half to 53. So I don't know. I'm not really sure about it. I don't really like it that much, but who am I to say? The next one, not really going to affect play on the field or anything like that, but apparently there are now looser standards for GM interviews. Teams will no longer be required to include that the general manager candidate will have final say over the 53-man roster in the job description for general manager interviewees. It's not going to do much. It's not going to really change the interview process because, if you're going to hire a GM, generally he's going to have control over the 53-man roster anyway, so it's not really whatever. It's kind of weird. That one's not a big deal. And then, so those are the rule changes, quote unquote rule changes. Now there was also a waiver awarded to the LA Rams. They are now they're originally supposed to get the 2020 Super Bowl. That has now been moved to Tampa. The Super Bowl will come to LA in 2021. This is because construction on the new LA stadium has already been delayed. So Super Bowl 55 will now be in Tampa in 2020, and the new LA stadium will get Super Bowl 56 the following year. So, and then finally there was a vote that was tabled for further discussion, which has to do with interviewing head coaching candidates. It's the proposed rule change that would allow teams to negotiate head coaching positions with coaches of teams who are still in the playoffs. So obviously, as you know right now, teams have to wait until a team is eliminated from the playoffs before they can negotiate and agree to terms with the head coaching candidate. This proposed rule change would allow teams to decide head coaching candidates before that team is eliminated from the playoffs. So they'll discuss that at a further date. So those are the rule changes at the NFL. The new rules in 2017, we're going to have more celebrations, more players coming back from IR, less time to win it in overtime, all sorts of fun stuff in 2017 for the NFL. So moving on real quick, I'm just kind of wrapping up here. The Patriots signed another wide receiver to the fold the other day. They brought in wide receiver Andrew Hawkins, who is a slot receiver extraordinaire. Came into the league with the Bengals in 2011. Played there for a few years. Went to Cleveland. Played there for a few years. Not guaranteed for a roster spot, obviously. I mean, I mentioned earlier in the show the amount of wide receivers and the caliber of wide receivers on this team. We're talking about Brandon Cooks, Julian Edelman, Chris Hogan, Malcolm Mitchell, Danny Amendola, right? So all of those guys are ahead of Andrew Hawkins already. Already all of those guys are ahead of Andrew Hawkins. So, I mean, there's probably no way this guy makes the roster, but it is worth noting that, in 2014 he had 63 catches on 113 targets. He was a slot guy. He was a kick returner. Maybe he can find his way to be a kick return man, something like that, but he will likely not find a place as a wide receiver on this team. But he was signed. He is on the team. Probably looking at more of a special teams role for him, which could be good because it'd be better if you don't have to risk throwing out Edelman out there to return punts and stuff like that and have to worry about Cyrus Jones dropping the ball every time he gets a kickoff return or anything like that. It'd be much nicer if you could just, kick the ball to Andrew Hawkins and have him take it, and if he gets hurt, then he gets hurt, but if he's a guy who is specifically there to return the punts, right? That'd be good. So it's good that they signed him. The wide receiver core is just like stupidly stacked on this Patriots team, and that's, like I said, not even counting running backs who catch the football. Tight ends, obviously, the Patriots have the best tight end in football, Rob Gronkowski. They also have another really good receiving tight end in Dwayne Allen now. So a lot of good things going on for the Patriots receiving core as a whole. Tom Brady is loving the guys he's throwing to right now. I can guarantee you that. Anyway, moving on, talking about throwing the ball to guys. The Patriots were on the field Wednesday, Thursday, and today. So media had access yesterday, Thursday, for the first time. We saw guys out there. Rob Gronkowski was out on the field, has been medically cleared to practice. He was out there. He caught a touchdown pass. He was chest bumping guys. Brandon Cooks has already caught a touchdown pass. Him and Brady are connecting. I'm saying all this stuff with full knowledge that nobody was wearing pads today. So it really makes absolutely no difference. And this was basically just an extended conditioning drill, right? I mean, this was warm-ups. This is just laying the foundation for what's going to come in mini camp in June and then training camp in July. So this is literally just as voluntary. Not even all the guys were there because, like I said, it's voluntary. But, most of the main guys were there. Tom Brady was there. All the quarterbacks were there. All three quarterbacks were there. All the new guys, obviously, are there trying to learn new playbook. Because Stephon Gilmore was there. Brandon Cooks, as I mentioned, was there. All these different guys. All the running backs were there. Malcolm Butler was there. There was a lot of speculation that maybe he wouldn't go. He was upset. He was there. He made a couple statements saying, the only person that would hurt by me not being there is me. I'm just here to get better. This is what I'm out here to do. Have another great year. Anything to help the team and all that. All the basic stuff. Also, interestingly enough, even though he is set to earn $3.91 million this year, he was asked, "Hey, would you like to be a Patriot long term?" He was asked by a reporter, and basically, this is his quote. We'll say, quote, can't predict the future. Whatever happens, happens, end quote. That's Malcolm Butler. So, hey, he's basically looking at this year and this year only. And, that's not necessarily a terrible mindset to have for him. So, but like I said, guys were out on the field today. Tom Brady's throwing touchdown passes to new guys. We got all sorts of people out there. Some rookies are out there. Everyone's kind of just getting the feel for things. So, nice to see. It was nice to log on to Twitter yesterday morning, check it out, look at who was practicing, see Rob Gronkowski walking out there with his helmet on. Tom Brady walking out there with his helmet on, ready to throw touchdown passes, man. It was great. It was great to see. So that was really nice. We'll look forward to, there's another group of OTAs next week that are not open to the media, and then we'll have mini camps in mid-June that will be open to the media. We'll be able to look at that. And then training camp will come in late July. That date has yet to be announced. We will bring that to you whenever we find it out. So really now we're going to close it out. Final segment of the show. Before I get to that, I just would like to say, guys, that today's episode is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. It's a new year, which means a fresh start to your business, and a great year starts with making great hires. But posting your job in one place is not enough to find quality candidates. So if you want to find the perfect hire, you need to post your job to all the top job sites. And now you can with ZipRecruiter. With ZipRecruiter, you can jumpstart your hiring in 2017. You can post your job to 200-plus job sites, including social media networks like Facebook and Twitter, all with just a single click. You can find candidates in any city or industry nationwide. Just post once. You can watch the qualified candidates roll right in to ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use interface. No juggling emails, no juggling calls to the office. You can quickly screen your candidates, rate them, and hire the right person fast. So find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by over 1 million businesses nationwide. Right now, our listeners can post jobs to ZipRecruiter for free by going to ZipRecruiter.com/sportsfan. That's ZipRecruiter.com/sportsfan. One word, sportsfan. One more time, to try for free, go to ZipRecruiter.com/sportsfan. So really, guys, just to close it up, I would like to mention that Raymond Clayborn has been named to the Patriots Hall of Fame. He got in on the fan vote, which was really interesting because the guys he was going up against, we talked about it on Tuesday's episode. It was a three-man race between Raymond Clayborn, Richard Seymour, and Mike Vrabel. Now, there was a lot of thought, for me at least. I said it on Tuesday. I thought that either Seymour or Vrabel might be able to get it, but I wasn't sure which one because those guys will take votes from each other. I mean, as we talked about in the earlier episode, they played the exact same number of years. They were both here for 7 years. They both won 3 Super Bowls. They were both heavy contributors to those 3 Super Bowl wins. So it was really tough to decide between those two. But then there was Raymond Clayborn. Now, Clayborn had been on the list. He had been on the finalist list for 4 consecutive years going into this year. Well, 3 consecutive years going into this year. This was the 4th straight year he was on the list. He lost to Ty Law in 2014. He lost to Willie McGinnis in 2015. And he lost to Kevin Falk in 2016. So he is beyond due. I mean, if you know anything about Raymond Clayborn, obviously, as a 25-year-old man, I cannot say that I watched Raymond Clayborn play. He retired the year I was born, 1991. But he played for 13 seasons in New England from 1977 to 1989 after being drafted 16th overall by the Patriots. He was a member of the All-Rookie team in 1977, 3-time Pro Bowler, for certain one of the greatest cornerbacks in franchise history. Mike Haynes and Ty Law are probably the only 2 corners who were better than Raymond Clayborn. And Haynes actually played with Clayborn for a few years. They actually kind of crossed over there in the late 70s. But Clayborn still holds the Patriots record for the most consecutive games played with 161 straight games, and he is tied with Ty Law for the most interceptions in franchise history with 36. So, I mean, the guy is obviously, he's number one on the list in all-time interceptions for the team. He was most consecutive games played in franchise history. He was here for 13 years. 10 of those years were winning seasons. He played in the 1985 Super Bowl with the Patriots. So, I mean, this is a guy, like I said, 3-time Pro Bowler. This is a guy who paid his dues. This is a guy who, this is pretty much the definition of a Patriots Hall of Famer before the Patriots started winning Super Bowls, right? Now that the Patriots are winning Super Bowls, you kind of got to be a contributor to those Super Bowl teams to even be considered for these Patriots Hall of Fames. But Raymond Clayborn is kind of, maybe he's the last one. Maybe he's that last guy from the pre-Super Bowl era, the pre-Patriots dynasty era, that will get into the Patriots Hall of Fame, you know, strictly on the merits of his play and not with the additional caveat, oh, and he also won 2 Super Bowls or 3 Super Bowls with the Patriots, whatever. Right? Maybe he's the last guy to, strictly because he was, you know, one of the 3 best corners in Patriots history with no Super Bowl wins. That is why he got into the Patriots Hall of Fame. So that's pretty cool. I like that. Raymond Clayborn, shout out to him, Patriots Hall of Famer. He will be inducted, I believe, probably at some point during this upcoming season. There'll be a whole thing. It'll be great. Anyway, guys, that's all we've got for this week. A very eventful week here in late May for the Patriots, which is no, you can't always say that about every team, but it was great to see the guys on the field. It's great to see that Rob Gronkowski has a new deal. It's great to see that you know, Raymond Clayborn got into the Patriots Hall of Fame. There's been some rule changes. Now we've got, you know, we're really starting to get into gear. It's at this point. This is the turning point. We're more than halfway through the offseason now. We're a couple weeks away from minicamp. We're about a month and a half away from training camp. And the train is chugging along. We're feeling good. We're getting ready. So, really excited about all that. We'll be back next Tuesday. We'll be here. I'll be here. Still filling in for Harris. Harris will be back next Friday, like I mentioned. So, until then, guys, thanks again for downloading today's Patriots Beat. Today's sponsors were ZipRecruiter and Blue Apron. We want to once again thank everybody who downloaded, everyone who listens, everyone who gives us ratings and reviews on iTunes. Thank you guys so much. You keep us going. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media accounts. We are at Patriots Beat on Twitter. You can also follow the CLNS Media account at CLNS Media. Follow us at Facebook.com/CLNSFans or Facebook.com/PatriotsBeat. Thanks again to CLNS Media, executive producer Larry H. Russell, the founder of our network, Nick Gelso, for letting us put on this great podcast. Thanks to everyone who tuned in. My name is Michael Longi. This is the Patriots Beat podcast, powered by CLNS Media. We will talk to you on Tuesday.
What's going on, Pats Nation? This is Marvin Zahn of CLNS Radio, and I'm here to tell you right now to check out the CLNS Radio New England Patriots postgame show, hosted by myself and my co-host, Mr. Mike Nice, and live on CLNSradio.com immediately after every single Pats game. Call in at 929-477-2386 toll-free to get your voice heard and contribute to the host breakdown and analysis of the latest Patriots contest. We also got the stars and sorries of the day, Twitter posts with a play of the game, and everything else that is going on with the 4-time Super Bowl champions. Subscribe to the CLNS Radio New England Patriots postgame show on iTunes and Stitcher, and the best way, download the free CLNS Radio mobile app for on-demand listening anytime, any place, anywhere.